So I got back from the heart doctor. Basically, they reviewed my thing after even doing a stress test where I was on a treadmill and running and all that stuff, and they said that my ejection fraction rate is 40%, and the last time I went was 45%, but the time before that it was like 41, so it does vary. So that's what I'm hoping is what's going on here, because I haven't been eating good, I haven't been taking care of myself, all that stuff. But the ejection fraction rate is basically how much blood is still contained in your heart after the after it does, like it pumps blood in and out and so forth, like how much of it is actually still retained in there. And a healthy person should be between 55 to 70%. So as you can see, me being at 40% isn't really a surprise, considering I've got all the health or all the heart problems I've got. But the thing is that's the lowest it's ever been, and that's literally the baseline. Between like 39% is considered actual heart failure, like you're fucking screwed, and 40% is like right there. So I'm going to try really hard over the next 6 months. I have another appointment in 6 months again, and in those 6 months I'm going to try and exercise as best I can, at least 3 to 4 days a week for at least an hour or two a day. I'm going to try and cook pretty much all my meals. I'm not eating fast food anymore, like, unless, we're out with friends or something like that, and that's once a week at most. And try and cut down severely on that. If I do eat fast food, I'd want it to be something actually, like, as healthy as it can be or whatever. And, just, try, like I said, to get myself back into shape as best I can, and try and get myself on a dedicated sleep schedule, so I go to bed like at 1, no later. Get enough sleep, go to bed with all the lights off, get outside, get enough sunlight, all that kind of stuff, because, this is serious fucking shit, and it's like my alternative is I take medicine, which is ACE inhibitors or beta blockers. And the problem with ACE inhibitors and beta blockers is that they have pretty severe side effects, especially beta blockers. Like ACE inhibitors basically work by, thinning your blood and so forth, making it less hard to pump, reducing your blood pressure, etc. But the problem with that is that it does affect a number of things in your body, and it can, fuck with your body and so forth. But the one I'd really be worried about, and what they'd also want me to do, would be beta blockers. And beta blockers essentially stop the absorption of norepinephrine and epinephrine, otherwise known as adrenaline, in your body. And that's really bad because, adrenaline is in a lot of things in your body. It relegates a lot of things that your body does. So, that like flight or fight response that you get, or like fear, or, the happiness you get from somebody else or whatever, or from like something really good happening or whatever else, the adrenaline wouldn't be accompanying those anymore. So not only that, but beta blockers have also been shown to basically screw your sense of taste over, can cause hair falling out, ironically can cause heart failure, heart block, or just straight up actual death. They can cause a whole bunch of different symptoms, and it's like, there's a rarity there, but it's like I'm basically in a situation where, do I exercise and take really good care of myself and get potentially maybe about another 20 years or something like that, if even that, at best? Or do I take a gamble and take medicine that is going to severely impact my quality of life in all areas except for my heart by giving me a multitude of other symptoms, and could possibly extend my life for another 40 years, or it could kill me within the next month? So, even if you've gotten up on a high dosage of it and you've tolerated it up to that point, you can still get a, something that would just kill you out of nowhere, just like that, So it's basically, do I stay with what I've got and try and take as best care of myself as I can and, get the years I do have, or do I take something with a gamble and get a lot more years, or end up shaving off many, many years of my life that I could have had? And it's like my doctor... I have like a unique condition with the heart thing, where I had my heart attack when I was like 7 days old, and that's not really, my heart's plasticity was really high then, so it remodeled itself some. And so, it's like with epinephrine being in my body this whole time, like, they don't even know what this could even do, and I've asked them, do you have data on that? Well, they could do for somebody, like, oh, we give it to a bunch of different patients, but he wouldn't answer that. He wouldn't be straightforward. And then, like, they said outright that because I wasn't going for the past few years to take this medicine, I hadn't taken it for the past few years, that they wouldn't even give me a heart transplant, even if I needed it, even if I did get really bad and whatever else, because I can't be trusted to take medicine. Because it's not like I took digoxin for, 16 years, day in and day out, as a kid, where it's really hard to, like, do that stuff because your attention span's, like, shot. And so I pointed that out to him, and he's like, well, just, like, again, dodge the question. So we're getting a second opinion from a cardiovascular specialist from somewhere else. And we're also going to, like I said, wait this 6 months and try and exercise and take much better care of myself with sleeping and eating and etc., you know, and I'm going to try and not stress out as much. One of the biggest stresses I've got, obviously, is money stuff, you know. I'm just, you know, like I said, right now I'm making about $1,500 a month, and my expenses are like $2,200, so I am just slowly getting less and less money in my bank account. You know, I'm going to probably have to take on a full-time job along with everything else I'm already doing to make ends meet. So that's been a lot of stress, to deal with the money stuff, to deal with just, you know, having to constantly make sure I take care of my health and make sure I get enough sleep. But then, you know, I've got 15 million projects I'm working on to make ends meet as I am, even though I'm not even making ends meet, you know. And I've got all these projects I'm working on, and so that's, you know, obviously stressful to, you know, make sure I can work on those while still getting adequate sleep and still getting exercise. And, you know, socially, I have basically no social life. I visit, I have no social life outside of visiting Elise and our friends, you know, 1 day a week for a few hours, and that's it. And then, you know, the rest of my time is just like pretty much no social life at all, because I have no time, because I'm working my ass off on all this stuff. So, you know, hopefully a lot of that gets better. But I'm just in a rock and a hard place right now. You know, I don't really know what to do in terms of the stuff. If any of you watching this are around my age, I'm 29 right now. If any of you are around my age or even somewhat younger, you know, in your 20s, whatever, and or older, in your, you know, mid-30s, late 30s, 40s, 50s, etc., and you're on ACE inhibitors or beta blockers, and even more ideally, if you've been on them for a long period of time, like, that's my other fear too, you know. Most people that take ACE inhibitors and beta blockers are in much older age and are taking them to extend their lifespan by another 4 or 5 years. I'd be potentially taking these for like the next like 50 years, you know. And that's not, I don't think they're designed to do that. That's not really that often. I've heard of people taking them in their 20s and then going all the way through like their 80s, you know, etc. And I would imagine that stopping the absorption of adrenaline, and what the ACE inhibitor also does, you know, too, on its own, is not exactly going to be the most pleasant thing for your body to be able to take. Not to mention that some of the also possible symptoms are like liver damage and kidney damage. So if any of you out there have been, you know, taking these, have took them for a long time, you're around my age, anything like that, please do let me know. If you know anybody like that too, please do get them in contact with me, because I'd like to ask about a lot of different symptoms that they possibly have, you know. And it's like another big one for me too is that with the thinning of blood and so forth, you know, it's like that's obviously going to cause erectile dysfunction, and that's, you know, a really big thing for a guy and so forth, you know. Like, I really want to have kids, as I'm sure a lot of you know. That's like a really big thing for me. And so, you know, of course I can still have kids through, you know, the test tube stuff. I can't think of it right now, you know. In vitro fertilization, I can still have kids through that, you know. But it's like, how many women out there are going to want to get with a guy that's already got all these health problems, and then he can't even fucking get a hard-on, you know, at like 30? It's like, it's one thing, you know, if you're in your 60s or 70s, you know, you can't get a hard-on, you need Viagra, which, by the way, I can't take, because that would cause heart problems with me, too. You know, you need something like that, you know. It's like, okay, at least that's understandable. You deal with that, you know. You're in your 60s, you know, it's much more about just kind of spending time together rather than having kids and raising a family. But it's like, you know, what 30-something, late 20s, mid-30s, whatever, you know, chick is going to want to get with a guy that can't even, like, get a hard-on, period, let alone all the other medical problems that would come from taking these pills. But then on the flip side, I don't take them, I might not end up living a long life, we have kids, and then I don't even get to see my kid even fucking get out of, like, grade school, you know? So I'm, again, just basically in a fucking rock and a hard place, and it's just, this is not something I needed to deal with, along with all the other work I'm doing, and the money, and social life, and everything else I'm doing at the same time. So, yeah. You know, at least, you know, the comic pages are looking pretty good. I got that, you know, going for me, and the projects I'm working on are slowly getting better, but it's just, yeah. So I'm going to have to try really hard to work on the sleeping, eating, exercise, not stressing out about money, although that's kind of impossible, but, you know, and hoping I don't have to take these, because I'd really like to raise a family someday. And by really like to raise a family, I mean that's, like, extremely, extremely important to me. So, yeah. So, that's about it. So, yeah.